Okay, so in this video I said we're going to look at something a bit more complicated. So here you can see I cleared all the code from here, and we're going to look at a few different functions here. Now if a function returns something, we can actually view what it returns with the select statement. So I'm going to do select, and the function we want to run is called now, and we use our brackets here and then a semicolon. And if we run this, you can see that it returns the current date and time. Now there's also another function here we can look at called current, and this has a few different options here: current date, current time, and current timestamp. So let's start with timestamp here. You can select that and run this line of code, and it will return basically the same thing as the now command, so the date and the time. Now we can also do current date here. Don't forget your brackets, and when we run this it will return just the date here. The same thing for time. If we do current underscore time and we run this, it will return the current time here. So let's go ahead and create a new table here so we can practice in, and I'm also going to show you how to delete the table when we're done. So we're going to do create table, and we've already seen the syntax before. Now we give the table name, so I'm going to call this test, and we use our brackets and a semicolon at the end. So inside of these brackets we now want to give the column names. I'm going to say first underscore name, and I'll make this a varchar 50. And we need to separate this with a comma, so on the next line here I'm going to say created underscore at. And this created at property, column name, if you can't guess already, we're going to store a timestamp of when this entry was created. So to do this, we want to firstly give it a type, so it's going to be type date time. And actually we can call this timestamp here instead of date time, so let's do that, just so that it's a bit cleaner. And then we're going to say default here. So by adding in this default property here, we can now specify what the default value of this created at column is. And for a default property here, we're going to use that function we saw earlier, which is current timestamp, and we want to put our brackets here. And now let's go ahead and create this table. So we'll select everything and run it, and now you can see the table is created. So let's select this table to see what's inside of it. We'll do select star from, and we name the table test. So let's run this, and now we see that it has a first name and created at. Now let's try and put some data inside of this table. So I'm going to leave a line here and keep that select statement at the bottom, and at the top here I'm going to say insert into, and we're inserting into the test table. And then in the brackets here, what do we want to insert? Only the first name. The reason why we don't have to insert the created at is because it has a default value that will be filled in as we insert stuff in. So here we need to say values and our brackets here, and for values I'm just going to say Bob. And okay, let's add our semicolon at the end and run this, and then let's run the select statement to see what's inside the table. And you can see we have a first name of Bob here, and then we have created at, which is already pre-filled in for us, so we don't need to fill in this created at by ourselves. And that's the cool thing about using the default value, especially for something like a timestamp. This can now run forever. If we insert data into this 2 years from now, it will have that timestamp on it, and we can always come back and look at old entries and we can see the timestamp on them. Yeah, so it's really important for keeping track of things like, for example, when last did a user log in or something like that. And now let's do one more thing. We'll insert a new value into here. So we'll use John again. And I did wait a little bit of time so that the timestamp will be a little bit different. So let's run this, and now let's select everything again. And now you can see we have Bob, and his timestamp is at 12:42, and then John's timestamp is at 12:43. So you can see that it is in fact keeping track of the current time, and if we did this on a different day, then the date here would be different. So this is how we would create a timestamp in MySQL. Now let's look at how we can delete this table because we're done using it. So we want to select everything here, we want to delete it. And to delete a table, we want to use the keyword drop. And here after we type drop, we can either type table or we can type database in case we wanted to get rid of this entire database here. But in this case, we're just going to do table, and then we need to give it the table name. So right here, if you look on the left hand side, we actually don't see the test table here. We need to hit the small refresh button up here so that we can see it there. That's just because this navigator thing here on the left doesn't automatically refresh when we add something to the database. So if you do want to see the changes here, each time you add something, you have to hit this refresh up here to see it. So we're going to drop table, and the table name is called test. And we want to put in our semicolon at the end and run this. And now you can see the test table vanished from here. And if we hit refresh here, it doesn't come back, it's gone. And yeah, that's basically how you can create and drop tables. And we also looked at timestamps, and we looked at how we can get just the date if we want, or just the time if we wanted. So yeah, that's all for this video. I hope to see you guys in the next video. But for now, that's all guys.